Good morning everybody, and welcome back to Louisiana Homestead. This morning we're going to be starting out with making some bread dough. So I'm going to be using this little machine right here. I've got it covered up with a pillowcase because it works very well as a cover for this KitchenAid mixer. This is what I'm going to be using to mix my bread dough with today. So we're going to get these implements out of here, and I'm going to get my yeast and my warm water down into this pan. Okay, we're going to start with a cup of hot water right out of the tap. I'm going to pour that into my bowl here. To that I'm going to add a tablespoon of honey. This is how I make mine. Just showing you how I make mine. I'm going to use a tablespoon of honey. Mix that in, and I'm also going to use a tablespoon of yeast. This is the kind of yeast that I'm going to be using. It doesn't mean you have to use this one. This is just the kind that I'm using. And let's see if we can get this honey out of this spoon here. Okay, that's good. And we're going to go in with a tablespoon of the yeast. We're going to let that mix together. I'm going to mix it up a little. And in just about 5 minutes or less, we should start seeing some bubbles to form in here. So that's what I'm waiting on before I get to my next step. I'm going to give it about 5 minutes. Okay, our bubbles are starting to form. Our bubbles are starting to form in there. It's been about 3 minutes, I suppose, since I see that the yeast is activating, which you have to have the warm water to activate the yeast, and the sugar in the honey also helps to activate the yeast because the yeast feeds on sugar. Now that we see that the yeast is active, it is bubbling, that's the sign that it's active. We're going to add in a half a tablespoon of salt, and we're going to add in a tablespoon of olive oil. Now, I don't measure my olive oil. I just pour it in like that. Now we're going to combine that. Get that salt mixed in and that oil mixed in with that yeast mixture and honey mixture. And the next thing we're going to do is add in our flour, and we want to use warm flour as well. You want to keep your mixture warm. If your flour is cold, if you keep it refrigerated or something like that, or in the freezer, you'll want to take it out ahead of time and let it get to room temperature, or try to manipulate it on the stove to warm it up. Whatever you have to do, you want your flour to be room temperature. You want to work with all warm ingredients to make your bread. So the next thing we're going to do is use our plain flour that I have, because I keep mine in the freezer. And what I did is I took a metal bowl and measured my flour into it and put it on the stove. Turn the stove on, let the bowl itself heat. A metal bowl, stainless steel bowl, this bowl right here. And once the bowl heated, I didn't just cook the flour now, okay? I just turned the stove on, let the bowl heat. Turned the stove off. And then once I had the flour in my bowl, I kept turning it and turning it, letting it hit the sides of the bowl until the flour was at room temperature. Okay, so you can do that too. Now I'm using plain flour. I'm not using self-rising flour. And I'm using 2 3/4 cups of it. So I'm going to go on ahead and add that in to my wet mixture now. Just like that. And I had some clumps in my flour too, so I ended up sifting it. Normally you wouldn't have to do that, but I had some clumps in my flour and I didn't want that, so I did sift it out. Now I'm just going to combine these with my little spatula here, because I don't want anything sticking to the bottom or anything like that. I want it to be as combined as possible before I put it on that mixing stand. Because sometimes if you just put it on that mixing stand, some stuff will get stuck on the bottom and cause you some problems. You definitely do not want that. So I'm just making sure that I have everything together before I put it on there. You see that? I'm trying to get that flour off the bottom of the bowl and mixed in to my dough. It looks like this could use a little more moisture, so I'm going to do that now. And I'm not going to add much. I'm only going to add a tablespoon of warm water. Like I said, I want to keep my ingredients nice and warm. And I think I'm going to add another tablespoon. Let it fall down on the bottom of that bowl where it can mix into my dough a little better. Okay, that's better. Alright, now I'm going to put it into the mixing stand, hook it onto that thing and let it start kneading it. This is the dough hook attachment that I'll be using. It just hooks on there like that. I'm going to plug in my mixer and raise the bowl. And I'm going to use the slowest setting on there, which is slow. Okay, I'm going to turn that off for just a second just to tell you. Now I'm going to I'm going to turn that back on and I'm going to let it knead for 10 minutes and then I'll be back. Okay, we've been 10 minutes. We can remove this. Now what we're going to do is oil it, the dough and the bowl as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pour a little oil, this olive oil, into my hands, my clean hands. And I'm just going to make sure that the surface of this bread is oiled, including the bottom section of it. So I want it oiled all the way around. That light coating of oil on my hands is going to be enough to oil this entire ball of dough. And now I'm just going to let it sit here and rise. I'm going to cover it. I don't want the air to get to it. I'm just going to give it a little light covering with this plastic wrap, and then I'm going to set a plate on top of it as well to keep any extra air out of it. You see, I want to leave that wrap loose enough where that dough can rise. I'm not going to confine it by pushing it down hard on there. I just want to keep the air off of it. I don't want my dough to dry out. And this is also going to help that. So I'm going to wait. Now I'm probably going to wait about an hour and go outside, get some other chores done, and I'll come back and check the dough. It should be risen to twice its size before I get ready to go to the next stage with it. During that 10 minutes while it was kneading, I went on ahead and got out some of the supplies I'm going to need for when I do get to the next stage, which will be my mat, my rolling pin, my pans, my dental floss, some extra flour, and some parchment paper cut to size for my pans. Okay, let's get on to the next thing. Alright, Mr. E is in the kitchen this morning. Can you tell us what you're doing?
I thawed out some field corn we had in the freezer. We grow field corn and or sweet corn every other year or so, and when we put some in the freezer, and we usually skip a year depending on what we grew the year before. But this is some field corn, and I cut up some tomatoes and peppers, and I'm gonna cook kinda, here's something, kinda what the Cajuns used to call a mock shoe, kinda. A little similar to that. I'm just gonna cut this field corn off the cob, and I'm gonna cook it down a little bit with some peppers and tomatoes that we grew for a side dish with the other stuff we made. Smothered potatoes and deer gravy. And I'm gonna pick some okra after a while, and we're gonna brown that down in a skillet.
Okay.
But that
This
deer meat is pretty dang tender. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
It's got some smoked deer, homemade smoked deer sausage in it.
Yeah, and some just deer meat itself. That looks really good.
Homegrown peppers, homegrown deer meat.
Okay. Also, he's got some potatoes, some of the potatoes that he grew, and he's smothering them down. He's got them cut like French fries, and he just keeps turning them on and let them get real hot. That's how you do. You let them get real hot, then you what? Put the lid on and turn them off.
I put the lid on and turn it off. If anything's stuck a little bit on the bottom, which is fine, I like it to stick a tad. If you put the lid on and then turn it off and leave it a little while, I don't know, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you're doing, and come back, whatever's on the bottom will unstick real easy, and you stir all that up. But I got the smothered potatoes and onions, about half onions and half potatoes. Maybe a little less onions than potatoes, but probably 40-60.
Yeah, it's good the way he makes it like that. He's the potato cooker in the family. Alright, let's see if this bread rose. I know it has, and you can see that it has too. We're going to get this plastic wrap off of the top of it and get it down onto a mat where we can roll it out. Looks like I should have put oil on my plastic. Okay, let's get this over to the rolling pad. Okay, we got some good dough there. It looks pretty. Okay, let's get our flour on here. I'll put me some plain flour into an old seasoning container just to be able to sprinkle it easily on this mat like this. Okay, then I'm going to put some on my dough as well. Get some on this side too. Okay. Just gonna fold this up and get some air into it. Like this. Okay. And then I'm gonna roll it out, and I have some leftover stuff from when we made those burritos the other day. I still have some of the meat and some of the beans. So I figure I'll do one of my little pinrolls with it. It should work out fine. It should make a really good pinroll actually. So that's what you're going to be seeing me doing here.
I think you can just give it to them, but I ain't just in case.
Right.
You know, chickens are gonna eat the hell out of it. They like that kind of stuff.
Okay, I got my pinwheels all rolled out, and what I'm gonna do is spray them lightly with a little bit of olive oil that has a little water mixed into it, just to help keep them moist. And then I'm gonna cover them. Up so they don't dry out because they have to rise again. And I'm just going to use this same mat that I rolled them out on because that works very well. Put it like that. Just cover them with that mat. It works perfect over these two pans. And I'll weight them down a little bit on the edges with a little rag to keep the air out of them. I'll do that on the edges, and after they get risen, I'll put them in the oven, bake them at 350 for probably about 25 or 30 minutes. That's probably all it'll take. They'll start getting brown on the top, and they'll be ready to eat. So we'll see you back at that time. Okay, so Mr. E got all his corn cut off the cob right here, and he's got his other mixture ready to go into it, and he'll be mixing that up a little later. I'll try to catch that on film also.
Olive oil at the bottom.
Okay, he said he put a little olive oil in there to keep it from sticking. And as you can see, he's got some tomatoes and peppers. Is there onions in this or not?
No, I didn't put any.
No onions? Okay.
I don't want to take too much away from the corn flavor.
Yeah, corn is a very mild flavor.
I don't know what all they put in what the Cajuns used to call mokshu, but you can, it's kind of like a jambalaya. You can put anything you want in it, but I know they put a little tomatoes and peppers. But
yeah.
They used to, that's like a corn soup kind of, like a one whole meal, but So this is kind of reminiscent of it, but I'm just cooking down some field corn
Yeah.
with some other stuff from the garden, that's all.
Right.
And make a good side dish. I'll put a little salt if I need to, a little pepper. Because the peppers that I put in it are not hot peppers. They bell peppers. So we'll see. We're going to make it taste good. We had been eating a lot of this field corn and sweet corn just on the cob. We hadn't been cutting it off the cob lately. So I want to do this time.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Oh yeah. I made a pretty good pot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Some pretty colors, that red and green and yellow. Make a pretty dish. Okay.
Had them potatoes real hot. And the flames high. Fire high. Put that lid on. Then turn that flame off. And they've been sitting there about 5 minutes. Now look at that bottom. You see there? How that top's all wet, but see how that bottom is sticking a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see it comes off easy because they've been sitting there soaking. That's what you want. It gives your potatoes a little color. And it gives it a good flavor.
Oh yeah.
They're about done. You see, I'll scrape that up. And I'll turn the flame on one more time after I get everything off the bottom. Now I'm gonna let that cook down one more time, and then I'll check them for the right kind of seasoning.
Okay.
See, turn that flame on high. Put that on. Let that heat get in there a minute.
Okay.
And then you're gonna cut them off. Let that do for 30 seconds, so cut them off, and they're gonna sit there and cook without no flame.
Okay. Make the most of it.
Alright.
Look, can we look at your corn? Nope.
No, yeah, I'm just
God dang. Oh, wow, that's coming together nice. Looks and smells delicious. Okay.
Wanna taste it, Mom?
It looks kind of hot.
No, it ain't.
I do want to taste it though.
All the flavors ain't gonna be cooked into it yet, but you can get an idea of what it needs. It'll have to sit and soak in there.
Oh yeah.
Does it need any more garlic? Okay.
I don't need anything.
Ooh, that's what I like.
It's good. Very good. Ooh. Oh yeah, I love that pepper in it too. Very nice.
Oh yeah.
Good morning, Oreo. How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Look, here comes Jack. Say Jack. Hey Jack. How you doing, baby? How you doing this morning, darling? Huh? Oh, right. That's a good boy.
Oh, that's daddy's baby.
They love Mr. E. And Mr. E loves them.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming out, taking us a break from the kitchen and coming to get some of this okra. It's time to cut it again. Mr. E's gonna start on this side, and I think I'm gonna go on the other side, and we can meet in the middle. That way we can get this done quick. So I'm just set the camera down here. Right. We got us our okra picked, and Mr. E has seen a frog down here he wants to show us. So let's have a little gander at him, if we can find him again. There he is. He's waiting on a bug. He probably get one. Hopefully he don't get too hot out here. All right. You ready, Freddie?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Got my oven preheated to 350. And I got my little pan of water in there, my little tuna fish can with some water in it to keep my bread moist while it's baking. And let's check these. Oh yeah, they've risen. It's time to put them in the oven. Okay, so into the oven they'll go. I'll check them in 25 minutes. Okay, we got the corn, potatoes, meat, and bread. We didn't do the rice yet. That'll come later, but we're ready to eat lunch. And that's what we got to do. The bread came out really good. Looks awesome. You ready to eat, Miss D? Okay. Getting some of this okra cut up. Get the little tops off of them and slice them up and put them in the pot. This concludes our video. I sure hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe. Bye now.